Is God really all-powerful? I get a post like this every so often. If there is only one way, then God is unable to create another way and therefore not all-powerful. That's a little bit like the thing, if God were all-powerful, he could create a square circle. The reason for questions like this is simply you don't know God. I read the Bible through 3 times. You don't know God. I was a preacher myself. You still don't know God. So we say God is omnipotent. Is that an accurate description of God? That's a concept, a word that we impose on him. If you type the word omnipotent into a search engine for the Bible, you won't find it. It's not in the Bible. It's what we imposed on him to help us try to understand the amazing breadth of his power. But to say this with the concept of omnipotent in your mind is to be working up at this level, not at this level. You don't know God. God is a social being, and he wants people to be with him, to communicate with him, to commune with him. And to do that, it needs to be people that are consistent with him, that he has the ability and the desire to be with. And that would be people who love him. There can be no love without free will. Therefore, if God wants people with him who love him, he has to give them free will. And giving them free will means that some of them choose, some of them love him, some of them don't. The ones who dislike who and what he is can't be with him. That is inconsistent with his character. When Jesus was on the cross carrying our sin, he cried to the Father, "Why have you forsaken me?" At that point, God turned his back on the Son. And why would he do that? Because he is incompatible with sin. He won't let sinful people into his heaven because he can't. Asking God to just forgive you and let you into heaven is like asking a magnet to attract copper. A magnet won't attract copper. It has nothing to do with will. It has to do with what a magnet is and what copper is. So you say, well, why didn't God create a different plan to be consistent with his character and with what he desires? You put those things together, try to come up with something different. You always run into a logical roadblock. God did it this way because it had to be this way. Let's look at what Jesus said in the Garden of Gethsemane before his arrest, as he was about to be tortured incredibly and executed on a cross. Essentially, he said, "Man, if there's any other way, I'd really like to do that. Nonetheless, your will." Do you think Jesus would have submitted to what he did if there were any other way to do it? Get off of this level of thinking and get down here. You don't know God. I don't care what your education is. You don't know God. I don't care whether you have a PhD or 5 PhDs. I don't care whether you're a published author. I don't care whether you're a professor at some university. You don't know God. When you ask questions like this, you don't know God. When this is one of your quotes, you don't know God. I don't care who you are, you don't know God. You remember that Avengers movie where Doctor Strange went through all the possibilities of how to get through what Thanos was doing? And there was only one way. And that's the way it is with God. He did this because of all the possible things he could do. There was only one way. Yeah, but didn't Jesus pay the penalty for all sin? I hear you say. Yes, and the Father has given authority to Jesus to decide who comes into heaven. But here's the thing. He, Jesus, paid the price for you. He bought you. If you're going to balk against Jesus owning you, Houston, we have a problem.